the Steel 250. I just put a brand new milling chain on here. Brand new air filter, brand new spark plug. I'm kind of looking forward to playing with this thing. I've actually been working on the dog penitentiary most of the day. I got like half the rafters up. Worked my butt off on that, and I figured I'd put this new chain on here. See how it cuts. So I'm gonna play with this log and see if I can carve something out of this. Probably gonna be winding this thing up, so a little bit. So I'm gonna put my earplugs in. See what we can come up with here. This is the first time I've used a little milling chain like this. I'm used to the long bars, the 32 inch, just milling and stuff like that. I'd really like to start playing with a little bit of carving. So I'm curious to see what this will do. This thing ain't ran in a little while. turned out pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna mark this side over here. I'm just gonna put an X and an X so I know where that log goes back. So the bottom will come off like that. This is gonna be the front. Back's gonna be more flat. Now I gotta hollow this out and try not to go too deep. Kind of mark it a little bit so we can kind of follow some lines here. So now we're going to try to plunge cut this all out. So I got this block cut around. Now I have to plunge cut through the back to cut the top of this block out. And the reason I'm gonna do it in the back is because you really want vents in your birdhouses anyway. So I'm gonna create a vent in this back and use that vent to cut this box out. And I'm gonna try my best, my very best, to not go through the freaking front. So I'm gonna plunge cut this back here and basically create an air vent in the top. I'm gonna use that air vent in the top to cut this block out. Just so you know, this is my idea. I am not copying this. I just made this up. I was sitting thinking today, and it just came to me. I was like, I'm gonna try some freaking carving today. Go. Now we're hollowed out. There's the X. See, now we got our air vent in the top here, and it goes all the way through. So when the birdhouse is sitting up, you got an air vent in the back. Wow. First one came out amazing. Not bad. I think I'm gonna throw a few screws in the bottom to hold this to the bottom to stop the bottom from bowing, because I'm gonna have to let this sit and dry for probably a couple weeks. It's real wet still. This is a tree that I recently cut down, so I figure if I put maybe 4 screws in the bottom up through the bottom to hold this down, it'll prevent this from drying and bowing or anything. And then we're gonna let this sit for, you know, a couple weeks or so, let it dry out pretty good, and then that's when we'll sand it real good and finish it. But I think this is very cool, especially for the first one. I was watching carving videos, chainsaw carving videos. I bought my milling chain, wanting to start kind of carving some stuff and playing around, especially making birdhouses. I love birdhouses, and I think this looks amazing. I never seen a video where they actually left it actually looking like a log, so I think this is just amazing. I'm sure some people take the idea and run with it. That's cool with me. But we got our hole in the front, we got our vent in the back. That's another thing I never see them do either, is actually have vents for the hot air to come out. Baby birds do die when these birdhouses get too hot inside. If you leave it out in the sun and the sun is just beaming on this thing and heating it up inside, it can kill the baby birds. Wonder if I should try another one. But once this starts getting sanded and, you know, play with it, get it sanded and nice, possibly torch some of it, give it a little bit of darkness to it, put a finish on it. I think this will be, maybe put a little peg in it or something, make it a little cuter. Dang right. That's actually, yeah, my X is here. Yep. Let me make those X's darker. I definitely want those on there until I get it finished. Wow, I think that is really cool. I'm working with wet wood. I always like to use washers because wet wood will literally bow and pull the screw head through the wood, and you'll never get that screw out. So I definitely like to use washers to prevent that. Line this up right. Alrighty. Eyeball this and hope we hit right. Oh yeah. And this is how you would clean this out if you want to seasonally clean your birdhouse out. You would remove these screws and take the bottom off, and then put the screws back exactly where they are. Oh yeah, that hit nice. Oh yeah. Two more. Now we can sit it up like this. A little easier to eyeball too. we go. How awesome is that? We can sand it, smooth it out. We could possibly use the chainsaw to make some marks and, I don't know, carve stuff in it. Maybe use the Dremel. I mean, the ideas are endless with these. But wow, I'm impressed with myself that this came out so good on the first try. I think I might need to do another one. I'm gonna put this up, keep it dry, just let it sit like it is for a while, let it dry up so I can sand it, make it pretty, put a finish on it. Maybe put a dowel rod. What do you think? A dowel rod in the front to make it look like a, you know, add a perch. Maybe even a stick. Maybe even use a stick as a perch in the front. Ideas are endless with these. Awesome, 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 awesome. The roof is super sturdy. It's solid. It's all one piece right here. The roof is all one piece with the birdhouse. The only thing separated is the bottom. I love that. And we got the vent where we plunged in to cut the pretty lockout. We plunge cutted so we have a roof vent in the back. That way all the hot air can rise and come out. Oh yeah. But like I said, it's the first one. I'm really surprised that it came out that cool for the first one. I'm assuming that they will get better. I guess we could try another one. I'm gonna go put this, I guess, on the deck over there and let this one sit for a while. I guess I can grab another log and try it again. I should leave the back kind of like a log. I guess that'd be cool, right? To leave it like a log. Alright, that was not a perfect cut. But it's art, you know? It's chainsaw art. Once it dries and you sand it pretty, it still all matches. So let's make our X here, so we know what side goes on what side. All right. This one's quite a bit bigger than the other one. This is gonna be a bigger birdhouse. All right. And I think I'm gonna leave the back of this one just bark. I guess eventually the bark could possibly fall off. All right, we're gonna hollow that out. Through here. More ventilation. Let's try not to do that again. It's a little different than the other one. There we go. So this one has a nice vent on the side here for some extra airflow. That's like AC. It's like bird AC there. And then we got the vent here in the back with the all natural bark in the back. And that's lined up. That was a lot wider than the other one. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think about this. Cause I've really enjoyed making these. That was pretty fun. Challenging. Alright, let me grab some screws. Oh yeah. All right. There we go. Birdhouse number 2. This one's got 2 vents. Got a vent in the side there where a whole lot of heat can escape. Got the vent up top in the back. Oh yeah. Wow, they came out just like I pictured. Just like I was thinking they'd come out. It worked out. These are amazing. And like I said, I've looked at chainsaw carving. I've been looking up like chainsaw carving boxes because that's what I'd like to do also. I'd really like to turn logs into boxes. That could be the next thing we try. We'll see. And I was thinking about a birdhouse that actually looks like in the shape of a log. I was actually looking for that online and I didn't see it anywhere. And I'm like, wow, kind of came up with my own idea. And the only thing that was really kind of giving me doubts is like, how am I gonna cut it to where I could cut this top part out? Like, how am I gonna cut that out? You know, and I came up with the idea because with all my bird mansions, I make sure they are all ventilated up top. They all have vents. Every room has a vent above it because I cut the wood a little short, about a 1/2 inch, and leave a vent. So I was like, I could create a vent and cut that top out. That's what I did. I just cut a vent there to cut that top piece out. That worked out great. I mean, that's genius if you ask me. I kind of like having a porch in the front and around the sides. I love porches. I like my hangovers to, you know, stop rain from going inside. It protects all the sides with your hangover. So I really wanted to come up with an idea to leave the roof hanging out. I love that it's round, just like the bottom. I couldn't be happier with this. I think I'm gonna be making these a little bit. I'm gonna let this dry out for a while. The more it dries out, the lighter it'll get. It's quite heavy. I don't know how heavy that is. So remove the bottom and clean this out. You just remove 4 screws, remove that, clean it out, put it back. Here's our 2 birdhouses. I know the lighting is horrible in here. There's literally no lights in here. So we got a smaller one and quite a bit bigger one. Wow, I love this. I love these. In the backs, I cut this back flat, and then I left this back natural bark. I think I like both of them about the same, really. I think I like both of them about the same. They're both really cool. I can't say which one I like better. That one is brighter in the back. You can tell this one's quite a bit longer than this one. I cut a lot less off. That's why these logs are basically the same size. One's a little taller, but they're the same width. It's the same tree. I just kind of cut more out of the sides. Really cool. Let me know what you think. I could keep making these. Let them dry out for a while, you know, sand them, decorate them. Possibilities are endless with stuff like this. I mean, you can Dremel stuff in them. You can torch them, burn them, sand them, finish them, make them shiny. The roofs look freaking awesome. Just like slabs of wood. Man, I love this. I think I'm about to get a little more into chainsaw carving. I think this is awesome. I'd really like to try a box, making a box, carving a box with a chainsaw. I have some other ideas. I love this one. I think I like this one the most. I love that it's smaller. I love it's just a little... I think just the look of the smaller one is really cool. I like the big one too. This one just kind of reminds me of a little mushroom, like a little fairy house or something like that. This one's a little more bigger and bulky, but I like it too. That's what's up. First time putting a milling chain on my little chainsaw and milling, carving some stuff, and it turned out way better than I expected to. I gotta be honest with you. it turned out a lot better than I expected it to. I cannot wait for these to dry out some so I can sand them and really finish them and make them shiny and beautiful. Have some of this green popping, especially the top here. This is all in grain up top, so the tops are going to be beautiful in grain. The porches are going to be in grain, really beautiful. Once they get sanded, get a finish all over them. What do you think about perches? I think they need perches. I don't know, for some reason it's hard for me to make a birdhouse and not put perches in it. I don't know where that came from. I hope you enjoyed. We're going to be doing this more. We're getting things situated around here where I can start focusing on creativity and a little less labor. We're getting stuff set up. We got the garage built. Big old deck we can work on. Got the generator shed built and the tool shed. We're getting the dog pen freaking situated, and that's about to be good. So the more of these labor projects I'm getting done, the less stress I have. I'm feeling more at ease about everything. We can start really doing some woodworking projects and messing around and dang right. Dang right. I'm seeing little things I could change to. Cut this up more at an angle. The more you work on an idea like this, the more you can sculpt it, the more creative you can get with it.